So it looks like the first tier for the Marvel Legends Engine of Vengeance HasLab has been revealed, but is this one any good, soulmates, and is it worth backing at this point? Be sure you stick around until the end, guys, because we're going to talk about what tiers we want to see next from this project. If you support what I do, please click subscribe and hit the bell for notifications so you don't miss a single video of mine when it comes out. Last time when I was talking about this HasLab, guys, I said that the Robbie Reyes Ghost Rider action figure looked like he was new, and I assumed he was because the Marvel Legends team said he was. But a lot of people noticed that this action figure is actually based on the Longshot one that was included with the Mojoworld 4-pack recently. And when you look at Longshot from that Mojoworld 4-pack, it does indeed look like his arms and legs, at the very least, are being reused on Robbie Reyes. As for the torso, I don't really know about that one, although it is curious that Robbie Reyes has the waist swivel and ab crunch. But at the very least, it looks like the torso has been retooled for Robbie Reyes. Or it might just be a new torso altogether, one or the other. Either way is fine. When I heard that the new Ghost Rider Robbie Reyes action figure was new, I thought that something was off about it, because I had this feeling that I'd seen the action figure someplace before, but I just couldn't place it. And fortunately, we had a lot of viewers who told me where it was coming from. And now that we know, it is kind of embarrassing that the star character of this HasLab project is a recycled action figure. Because I don't know about you guys, but when I spend this kind of money on something like this, I would really prefer that, at the very least, at the base level, everything be brand spanking new. The fact that you're spending $350 and you get a mostly recycled action figure at the base level is not great. And after looking more closely at Robbie Reyes' design from the comic book pages, there should be a lot more separation going on his arms and legs, and there should also be shoulder pads and knee pads on his costume, and we're not really seeing either of those elements here. It's very obvious that those have just been cast aside in favor of what was already created for Longshot. On his arms and legs, we should see the separations of the stitching going up and down. We see those elements and they look great on his torso, but obviously they're just not there in the arms and legs because they belong to Longshot. With a price tag of $350, it's really disappointing that we even have to bring this up, because it shouldn't be an issue with a $350 price tag. It's one thing if the tiers feature a lot of recycled elements, because like I said in the previous video, guys, tiers are rewards. They're not included with the base price. That's not how it should be. So if some things get reused on the tiers, then, well, they're extras anyway. But at the base level, when the star character is featuring heavy reuse, that's not a great sign. And you know, speaking of reuse, the early bird special as of right now is still going on, and if we meet the target of 9,000 backers by the 23rd, then we get an extra Robbie Reyes action figure. And this one is, again, reused from the Ghost Rider Robbie Reyes action figure we're already getting. The only difference is that he has new pieces where his boots were, and he now has a human head. Will it reach the number needed by the 23rd? Well, I'm not so sure about that, but we'll give it a maybe. Because fear of missing out is very powerful, and on a lot of these HasLab projects, we've seen late surges in the numbers, and who knows, it might push things over the edge at the very last minute. That said, things seem to be moving a little slow, and to move the needle, they decided to reveal the first tier, which is going to be Mephisto, which will be unlocked at 12,000 backers. A lot of people have really been wanting a Mephisto action figure for a long time, and well, here he is. Is this necessarily the Mephisto action figure that everyone wanted? Well, they said that all of the tiers were going to be 6-inch action figures, and Mephisto is a little taller than 6 inches because he is reusing the Attuma Build-A-Figure body from the more recent Wakanda Forever wave. And the curious thing about this Mephisto is that he seems to be based on a more modern version of Mephisto, because when you look at classic versions versions of the character, you see he has a pink face. You see he's got tight wrappings around his forearms and his calves, but classic Mephisto had more loose-fitting gloves and boots. And is this really what people wanted? I'm not sure if it is or not, because it doesn't seem that people are really rushing to back the project more than they already were. Something I've seen a lot of people complain about on this one is that he doesn't have sculpted bare feet on him, and that's not really something I've seen from Mephisto, at least in his classic form. If I were to say anything about the way that his feet look, it seems that he's got way too rounded feet. It feels like his feet should be much pointier than they are, because in all the classic versions of the character, he has shoes almost like the Green Goblin does. When I first saw this one, I was a little bit surprised because I didn't expect him to be revealed so soon, but also I was surprised by his feet that I thought didn't look quite right. And also I noticed that he didn't have an ab crunch, and I wondered why that was, and then I found out that, well, it's the Attuma Build-A-Figure being reused for him, so that's why. That Attuma action figure is being reused right down to the wrappings on his forearms and his calves. And is it really right for Mephisto? Well, I don't really think that it is, but it could depend on what version of Mephisto you want to depict. If I were to get an action figure of Mephisto, I would rather have something from his classic appearances, or else I would rather have something from the redesign done by John Romita Jr. I thought that the wild design that appeared in Daredevil comics way back when was really cool, and I'd love to see an oversized action figure of that particular version of him sometime. But as for what we're seeing from this tier, I don't really feel swayed one way or the other. I think that the head sculpt looks really good on him. This does feel like a Mephisto head sculpt, and the work on it looks really cool and evil, and yeah, they did a nice job on that. I also like his hands. Those feel really good to me. The beckoning hand and the other hand that's kind of just hanging there open, that feels good on him. I like those. And I really like the cape too. It's got some very nice textures on it. You can see it's got little folds going all the way up and down, and those tears really add a lot to the appearance. And that high collar really evokes the character for me. And I believe that those textures also extend to his loincloth that we see attached to the action figure. That feels really good too. So obviously there's some good stuff to be seen on this action figure. I just really wish that they would go back to the drawing board and rework the body, because I don't feel like Attuma is the right choice here. I also don't feel that he should be this tall. I know that Mephisto has the ability to change his height to whatever he wants, but generally he appears as a character who's about 6'6". He should be taller than a lot of 6-foot characters like Captain America and Iron Man and stuff. But Mephisto is really not that tall of a character when we consider his classic appearance. Which makes it all the more strange for me that people want an oversized Mephisto, because people complain about scale all the time, and then they want a character who's larger than how he's traditionally depicted. Another thing to think about with Mephisto is that he requires 12,000 backers to unlock, which is 3,000 more after the base level of the HasLab has been backed. And that's 1,000 more backers than was needed after Galactus got funded to unlock and get Nova. 3,000 backers were needed to get both Nova and Silver Surfer for the Galactus project. So looking at Mephisto and what's required of this project, it seems like a little bit of a lofty goal. Especially because I'm still not sure if Robbie Reyes can carry an entire HasLab project. And now that Mephisto's revealed, well, I'm not sure if he can carry the project either. Which really surprises me, because I thought that Mephisto, once he was revealed, was gonna be the one to help pull this project through. A lot of people are claiming that this is the only way Mephisto would ever be released in a HasLab project because people would be up in arms if this particular character were released as a general release. And I don't really buy that because we've seen a lot of different characters get released from other companies like McFarlane Toys, where Spawn is a thing, and we all know who Spawn is. And he's created literal demon characters that have been on retail shelves. So are we really supposed to believe that Mephisto is all that controversial? I don't think so. I'm not buying it. I think that if it were that much of an issue, they could easily just release him as a fan channel exclusive or a Hasbro Pulse exclusive, and they could call it a day on this one. Well, Soulmates, now that we've seen this new tier, is this one worth the money? Well, if you weren't convinced by the base level, I'm not sure that Mephisto is going to get you to back it. But if you're a huge Mephisto fan, this might be the only way you're gonna get Mephisto for the foreseeable future. If you're already a Ghost Rider fan and you love Robbie Reyes, and you also love Mephisto as a character, then this project might make a lot of sense for you. Personally, I don't think he's really adding a lot of value to the project because he's mostly just a reused action figure. Am I going to get this one, Soulmates? Well, as always, it depends on how much interest there is, and if you want to see me review this HasLab project, be sure you share this video with your friends, and we'll see what happens, guys. Now that we've seen this Mephisto, and it's obvious they're not just doing straight 6-inch action figures like they said they were going to do, who do we want to see next, Soulmates? Well, I'm not gonna lie, I think it would be pretty cool to see Blackheart. Well, Soulmates, what do you think of this Mephisto action figure? Is this one that you have to have for your collection? Are you convinced to go ahead and back the HasLab now? Or are you on the fence because maybe you want to see some other tiers? Maybe you don't like what's being offered, or maybe you're just not that interested at all for various reasons. I don't know, guys. Let me know what you think down in the comments. I would love to hear from you, and be sure you let me know what character you want to see revealed as a tier next. If you want to learn more about the base offering of this Engine of Vengeance HasLab project, guys, you can check out that video here.